Hello, everyone, and welcome to another book chat from here in my home office at Norwalk Home. This is actually my 20th book chat, and by the time you see this, we will have spent over 130 days in isolation. We'll be at 20 weeks, so it'll be 140 days actually. By the time you see this video go up. But I want to talk to you about a book I read, the most recent book I read, which is another library recommendation. It was a book called Dear Edward. The author was Ann Napolitano. It was published by Dial Press this year. So I think this is the first book I've read this year that was actually published this year. And this wasn't quite what I was expecting. It was billed as a book about a young man who is the lone survivor of a plane crash and has to make the most of his life afterward and try to put his life together. And it is that to some extent, but it's also a tribute to some of the other people who died on the plane and how some of those people had an impact on Edward's life without knowing it, and how we're all bound together as one in kind of the single threads that keep us together. And I thought the book was relatively well written. I didn't find a lot of major plot holes in it. I did find it to be somewhat not quite manipulative, but not quite emotionally honest. The biggest problem I had with it is that it seemed like I wanted to follow Edward and his story, and it does follow Edward, but it intersperses Edward's story with the backstory of the people who perished on the plane, some of them. And some of those characters are intensely interesting. They're very well drawn people, but it kind of took me out of the individual story of Edward. And I really wanted to hear more about Edward and how Edward was going to grow up and what Edward was going to do and how he was going to sort of maybe make a way in his life for that. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have liked. I think this same kind of premise could have been executed much better if it had been a little bit tighter and maybe not quite as focused on so many characters, but I would like to see maybe some of those other characters get books of their own. I thought they would be interesting character studies in and of themselves. So that was my recommendation for this week. If you are interested in plane crashes or aviation history or anything about piloting, there's some excellent pilot details in here. There's some very real feeling detail, and Ann Napolitano does an excellent job of that, but just not the book for me. So as I said, this is my 20th review, and I'll be back in a little while, in probably a couple of weeks. You'll see some books go up on this channel in the next couple of weeks. I'll schedule it, but I'll be back in a little while with a review of another book, and I'm hoping that this book will actually come from my shelves. And in my next review, I'll talk about kind of the breakdown of the first the first group of books that I reviewed here during the isolation period. And I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're finding ways to be productive. And I will talk to you in my next video. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, be healthy. Bye for now.